to the UIAAA Connection podcast. GoFan and VNN are proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the UIAAA Connection. Now a combined company, GoFan and VNN provide a seamless integration for digital ticketing and athletic websites. Direct your fans to one place for all your athletic events, communications, and tickets to home and away games. Thank you to GoFan and VNN for their exclusive sponsorship of the UIAAA Connection.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch Hunter. Today we have as our special guest, Lolohea, the Director of Athletics at West Jordan High School in West Jordan, Utah. Lay, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Let's have you begin by sharing with our audience here in the U.S. and across the world where you grew up, where you went to college, your first job, those types of things.
So grew up in Long Beach, California. We moved out here to West Jordan to West Jordan, Utah when I started high school, and that was like back in 2001. Ever since then, we've never left West Jordan. I've always just been here. Came to West Jordan High School, graduated from here. I attended BYU, Hawaii on an athletic scholarship out there as well. First job was I worked at the rec center during high school. We did you do the reffing, junior jazz and all that stuff. So just, your normal typical things, but, attending BYUH on the athletic scholarship, that kind of kept things busy. And then, that's just, now I'm here. Right back to where it all started, right back at West Jordan High School.
Well, so let me ask you this, a little bit of a follow-up then, because obviously one of my good friends is Dan Cowan, who I'm sure you knew, the former athletic director at West Jordan. So talk about what it's like to follow in the footsteps of Dan. And then, of course, after Dan was Carlson Boudreau. And, of course, you knew both of them, obviously, before you got this job.
Yeah, so there was Dan Cowan, then there was Scott Briggs, and then there was Carlson.
And Briggsy, yes.
Yeah, so, just for them, what I've gone off of their is their passion for athletics. And so just working with Dan, and I still talk to Dan nowadays. I still see him at AAU tournaments and he's watching his grandkids play and stuff, but also with Carlson Boudreau. He's been a big factor in getting our athletics going and stuff like that, but following in their footsteps is huge. When Dan was out here or doing his thing, that's when, we were getting a bunch of state titles, and we were pretty strong in our boys basketball program back then as well. And so just having them kind of set the tone here with the athletics over here has been, it's just their passion is the biggest thing that I know that I get from.
Sure. So let me ask you another follow-up. So talk for a minute, because living in West Jordan, Utah is probably a little bit different than living in Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
So talk about not the shock, but the difference in moving from Long Beach to here, and then talk about any youth sports activities you had a chance to play in Long Beach, because by the time you got here, you played for the high school.
Yeah. So growing up, what I thought was normal wasn't normal than what people see here, when we moved to West Jordan. But we've spent summers out here growing up in Utah just because that's where my mom's family was from. And so moving, going from summer back home to Long Beach and then back here to West Jordan, it's always just, I know what to expect, but in Long Beach, I did not play any youth sports. We didn't have much money growing up, and so I wasn't really able to play youth sports, and it really wasn't a big thing out there. And so I didn't start organized playing basketball until I moved here to Utah. But the shock of it was just, there's so many opportunities nowadays than there was back when I was growing up. And so, you have junior jazz, you have AAU basketball, you've got the trainings that people, individual trainings that people have nowadays. And so the it was a different moving from Long Beach to West Jordan. It was really different back then, but I mean, it was the best move that our family made.
Okay, well, let's have you talk for a minute then about some of the mentors and leaders you've had in your life that have made a difference for you.
I think one of my biggest mentors nowadays and has been since college was one of my teammates. So she's actually the director of athletics at St. from, I think it's Parker's out in San Diego. And so we played together in college, and now she's the director of athletics up there. But she's been one that I've like looked up to a lot, even though we're kind of the same in age, but she's been in her athletic director role for a few years now. And so just kind of seeing her kind of take that shift of more so of leaning her relationships with the athletics department and her athletes has been one that I've been able to look at here and trying to do that here. And not so much of like, she's like, it's not the paperwork that kind of is what you need to be, most worried about. It's gaining the relationship with your coaches and then with your athletes and then with your community. And so that has been a big thing for me as well. And so yeah, you should probably get her on your podcast as well. But she's her name is Mahina Hanneman Ngango. And so she's been one of the biggest mentors that I've had. Another one is our principal here. His name is Hutch as well, Michael Hutchings, but he's been great here.
I know him. Yes.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. So obviously, when we're done with the podcast, you can text me that information about your friend Mahina, and then we'll get her on. We'll get her on the podcast. I failed to ask you earlier. So you went to college on a scholarship. What did you play?
I played basketball. I actually played for Wendy and I. So she's the athletic director right now up at Timpview. Yeah. You're not allowed to ask her any questions about me back in college. So that might
that's fascinating. All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, let me ask you a little bit of a personal question here. Like, what's your biggest failure or disappointment in life, and what did you learn from it?
When you sent me the talking points, I was kind of thinking about this, but I think the biggest failure that I have growing up, and especially when I was playing college ball, was I wasn't enjoying the moments and I wasn't taking full advantage of the present, the right then. And I kept thinking, for basketball, you're like, what do I have to do to get a starting spot? What do I have to do to get more PT, more playing time? I never just stopped and thought to myself, I'm literally living out my dream. And I think that's something that I kind of had to step back, as the athletic director too, was I worked so hard towards a goal that I'm failing to realize that the journey in it is the most beautiful part of it. And so by the time I opened up my eyes, I was, some years old, and I just think back and I'm like, man, if I could have enjoyed the traveling with college basketball and the teammates, and if I could have just enjoyed life just a little bit more and been more grateful for the opportunities that I was given, then I think that I probably wouldn't have be so hard on myself. And so
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you, so what year did you start at West Jordan?
As a teacher or as
a teacher?
As a teacher, 2015 was my first year.
Okay, so talk a little bit about what you taught your teaching, and then how did you go? Did you just apply for the job when Carlson left, or how did that work? Talk about your journey to becoming the
AD? So I always tell people, I was like, oh, I fell into teaching, but I knew I wanted to be a coach. And so when I was coaching under Carlson Boudreaux, when he was head coach at that time, he kept pushing me to be like, get your teaching degree. You got to become a teacher. Like, when I'm done here, you're going to be head coach. And we like people in the building, you know. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll see. And so at the time, I was just working at Delta Airlines. And I was done with college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to coach. So I was coaching, and then I started subbing, and then I fell into a long-term sub job, which then that teacher that I subbed for signed me up to take courses to get my teacher license. And I had no idea that she did that. So I was like, what? She was like, yeah, you just take these classes, you'll be fine. And I was like, okay. And so I did it. And the next thing I know, I was taking classes to get my teaching certificate. And so I got in special ed. And so I've been working in the behavior unit. And so that's when Carlson Boudreaux was the athletic director, and I was in the behavior unit for special ed. And, 3-4 years ago, Carlson was like, hey, I think I'm going to be done soon. And I was like, okay, and he's like, you should think about being the athletic director. And I was okay with being just the head coach because I was building up my program and everything, and I was good with just being the head coach. And then I was thinking, and, he pulled me aside and he was like, you need to be the athletic director. And so the year that he was like, I'm officially retiring, I'm not going to be the AD anymore, I started to go underneath his wing and started to, see more of the admin side of being the athletic director. And I just fell in love with it. I'm a big sports person. And so I love being around all the athletics and I go to all the games and stuff. And so then I was just thinking, man, if I'm already doing it, why not take this opportunity? And so I actually went back to school again and got my master's in athletic administration. And so with that, I was like, okay, the AD job came open and I applied for it, and we had great candidates for this position, but I was blessed enough to be able to be the one that was chosen for it. So yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the job of athletic administration, and in the short time. So you've been the AD now 3 years, is that right?
This is my first year, Hutch.
Oh, it's the first. I thought, well,
I'm a
for sure you were at least at last year.
Oh no. Well,
but
I started
as an assistant then.
Yeah, like I officially started the AD job back in March. I think that's when I was officially hired. And so then I attended the AD conference in St. George, the Utah one. And that was like my first one last year. And so, yeah, this is my first run for it.
Well, so let's talk. I'll come back to the other question. Let's talk then. So Carlson hooks you up with the UIAAA. That's how you got to know, because I remember that's the first time I met you was a year ago.
Yeah.
In the spring conference of 2024. I apologize for taking this long to get you on the podcast, but talk about the UIAAA, talk about going to that conference, if it was an eye-opener, talk about how great it was to see Wendy, who, as everyone knows now, is our president-elect.
Yeah, no, it was the best thing for me to attend, especially being fresh as announced as the athletic director, because when I got there, I was like, okay, you're going to get overwhelmed, but you just got to just like take it as it comes. But as soon as I got there, man, you guys treated me like family. Like, you guys said, hey, you're the new AD for West Jordan. If you need anything, like, I got the networking, the connections, all other ADs were just saying, hey, if you need this or this or this is my email, this is my cell phone. It's been the biggest thing. I was able to connect with Andy, with Wendy and I, met you there, met Lee there. And so I met so many other ADs, and I kind of was like looking at them and I was like, hey, they don't look stressed at all. So I think I'm in the right area. And so, but just the UIAAA has been the biggest help. I ask a lot of questions. I don't know a lot of things. And so I like to ask a lot of questions. And Sometimes I'm like, oh, I think I'm a burden. I think I'm asking too many, but whatever questions I have and whoever I reach out to, it's, they don't ever make me sound like you should know this. They're just like, hey, yeah, it's right here, and the LTC courses that are available for us to take has been great. I've loved being able to take them and to learn. But also, every time I take a course, I always meet someone new that's taking those courses. So that's always been one of the biggest things too, because then I'm like, oh, you're at that school, and I remember my schedule. We play you guys in soccer, and so it's been the biggest thing has been the connections there.
Perfect. Let me ask you about this. So I want you to share your observations about the national conference in Austin last year, obviously your first national conference. And while you share that, I want to give you a chance to talk about the UIAAA conference grant, which actually allowed you a chance to get there. So kind of a two-pronged question. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, for sure. The first question was answering that one, going to the national conference. That was probably the best thing that I was very, very grateful for. Um, hundreds of ADs, but being able to connect and network with all of those ADs and being able to pick their brains and seeing kind of like what they're doing at their school, knowing that we're not the only ones that are dealing with certain issues and that other people are, and how they've handled that has been like really helpful. But the national conference, I honestly, hands down, I think that every AD should be able to attend that conference. So whatever district or whatever school they're at, I think every year the AD should attend those conferences, because not only just with the LTC classes and courses and the workshops, but it's the networking and the connecting with other ADs from all over the world, not just this country, but the world, that has been very helpful. Answering the questions, like answering whatever questions I have, especially being a first time AD. That was the biggest thing for me, was being able to ask other people questions, and not just like about athletes or parents or stuff, but about like athletic budget, money wise. And, just the national conference has been great. It's one of the best things, but I was fortunate enough to be granted that scholarship that UIAAA was able to give out to like first year ADs and stuff. And so if I didn't have that grant, I think it would have been a little bit hard for us to, for me to be able to go, just because it does, it adds up. But our district is in big favor for letting our ADs go to the national conference. And so we were able to do, all of our ADs in our district were able to go. But having that grant was a great opportunity. And so, and like I said, at the Utah conference, I don't get why people are not wanting to apply for it. And so they should.
Yeah, that's well said. Thank you for the shout out. Let me ask you this, Leigh. What's one common myth about athletic administration that you would like to debunk to the general public?
That we make a lot of money. If I hear one more person tell me, well, that's why you get paid the big bucks, I will start losing my hair hutch, because it's crazy how people think that that's like, oh yeah, you get big money now, and so you can, you can do what you're doing. And I'm like, yes and no. But also, I think the other thing that I would like to debunk as an AD is that we don't care about, the athletic side of things. We're just in it for the admin role of it. No, that's absolutely not true. As the AD here, I got into it because of how much I love being in the athletic side of things, and everyone's just like, well, you don't get to coach no more as much as coaching, your players, the student athletes. But I was like, we get the opportunity to coach our student athletes, our coaches. You get to coach your coaches, but you also get to step out in the community more to bring more people, not only to the games, but to also to believe in our mission and our vision here at West Jordan High School for our athletic department.
That's some fascinating insight. Thank you so much for sharing that. Lay, what's the favorite part of your job?
Connecting with everybody that I get to come into contact, it's like relationships, the connections with the student athletes, with their parents, with the community. Just, I mean, I think just being able, like, I get to say I'm working the soccer game. I get to be at the soccer game. I get to go, like today, where our softball girls are going to be competing for the state title for our 5A. We're going up against Salem Hills, and I'm like, I get to be there, and so that's the best part of this job is being able to connect with other athletes and with other parent athletes and student athletes, but I still get to be in the athletic side of things, and that's what I love the most.
Well said. Let me ask you a follow-up just to prove how ancient I am, because I have been retired for a while. Are they still holding the state tournament at the Cottonwood Complex, or is it out of the Valley Complex, or is it at both?
So it's at the Valley Complex, but
Okay.
the finals were up at BYU.
Oh, that's awesome. That's right. I
Yeah.
did know that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they all the preliminary rounds, and they host the finals 2 out of 3 at BYU. Right.
Yes. Yes. And tonight's our
that's a
first
great
game.
field.
Yeah.
And so do they play one tonight and then one, possibly two tomorrow,
Yep.
depending on, because you got to win 2 out of the 3. Okay, that's
Got to win
perfect.
2 out of 3.
Let me ask you this: Do you? I really think it's one of the best things the UHSA has done, is gone to that College World Series format for our baseball and for our softball. Do you like it? Is it worked out well, do you think?
It has. I like it. Not a lot of people are fans of it. They're just like, oh, one and done. You should, But for our softball and for our baseball teams, I think it's beneficial. And so, and it's, I mean, it's a it's a 3-game series, and so it's like you got to take 2 out of the 3 games, and it just makes things more interesting, but it also just gives teams a chance to kind of oh, we lost one and we can bump right back up, but I like it.
Yeah, and obviously you got to have, at least in softball, you got to have one good thrower. In baseball, you probably got to have 3. So that's
Yeah.
Let's finish up with a couple of questions here, Lay. The first one being, you've got 2 suggestions for a brand new AD, and these would be your suggestions, a new AD yourself. They've got to follow Lay's suggestions in order to be a success. What would your 2 suggestions be?
That's a good question. One suggestion would be become best friends with your custodial staff. Become best friends with them, because they are the ones that will save you early in the morning and late at night. So become best friends with them. I love our head custodial. He's awesome, but it's also him and his staff. And so become best friends with them. The second one would be ask all the questions. Just ask them. Even if they're questions you think are dumb, ask them, and ask all of your AD friends. Use your connections, use your networking, but ask all the questions, because why not? I mean, I don't know everything, and I know that I won't ever know everything, but asking all the questions and getting to know other people, but also it's better to ask the questions than to just like assume something and get it wrong. So
those are great suggestions. Thanks for sharing that. We'll finish up with this. Lay, what questions should I have asked you that I failed to ask you?
Nothing. I mean, you probably could have asked me what, in my opinion, what's the best high school in in Utah, and I would have said West Jordan, but
Well, and tell us why then. Why, since you brought that up, why is West Jordan the best high school?
Man, why is it not the best high school? We have the best community. Our West Jordan community is great. Our admin staff is great. Our faculty, staff members, we're a family around here. We take care of each other. We make sure everyone's good. And whether you're athletic side of things, performing arts, science department, history department, man, we've rallied all together as a family around here. And you can just tell, when you walk into our building, you can just feel that positive energy, the positive vibes that we bring. And I mean, this school, with our social demographics and our social economics with our kids, they are the most inspiring for us as faculty and staff and admin, because our kids, each of them, and as everywhere else, but our kids in particular, man, they've faced adversity and they've overcome so many trials and tribulations that, not a lot of people hear about, but we've been able to witness that as admin and staff and faculty. We've been able to witness our kids overcome so many great things. And I think that's what kind of makes us like a Jaguar strong, is our kids are the biggest inspiration to us, our students. And so, if they can get through life with everything that they've got to face, then, we can do that too. And it's always better to do it with a smile on your face,
Yeah, exactly. That is awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. On that note, that wraps it up for this edition of the UIAAA Connection. Again, our special guest today has been Lay Lolohea, the Director of Athletics at West Jordan High School. Lay, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
And thank you, Hutch. I really do appreciate it.
For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week for another edition of the UIAAA Connection.